Pradesh has nearly 90 lakh MSMEs and stands first in the country when it comes to the number of micro, small, and medium establishments, accounting for nearly 14% of the total MSMEs in the country. Under the leadership of its Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, the UP government has launched many initiatives such as Uttar Pradesh Startup Policy, New Electronics Manufacturing Policy, the One District, One Product or ODOP, Vishwakarma Shram Samman Yojana, and many more to benefit the state's MSMEs. ET Now is bringing you an exclusive 5-part series recognizing the state government for enabling sector-specific policies for growth and development of MSMEs in the state.
15-16 में उत्तर प्रदेश की अर्थव्यवस्था देश की 6वें नंबर की अर्थव्यवस्था मानी जाती थी और मुझे प्रसन्नता है कि आज उत्तर प्रदेश की अर्थव्यवस्था देश की दूसरी अर्थव्यवस्था है। ये अर्थव्यवस्था के क्षेत्र में उत्तर प्रदेश की ये छलांग अचानक नहीं है और इसके लिए अचानक हम लोगों ने कोई एक कार्यक्रम चलाया हो ये भी नहीं इसका कारण है। हमने मार्च 2017 में आने के बाद से लेकर के लगातार एक प्रयास प्रारंभ किया कि उन क्षेत्रों को हम चिन्हित करेंगे जो उत्तर प्रदेश की आय में वृद्धि कर सके, उत्तर प्रदेश की अर्थव्यवस्था में जो एक नया आयाम स्थापित कर सकें।
Hello and welcome to this very special series, ET Now, Leaders of Tomorrow presents the State View, Uttar Pradesh, a series of conversations and interviews that we're doing, talking about the policies and initiatives by the Yogi Adityanath government. I'm Sunanda Jaiseelan. In part 1 of the special series, I'm in conversation with the Minister of MSME in Uttar Pradesh, Shri Siddharth Nath Singh. I spoke to him, amongst other things, about what makes Uttar Pradesh a great place to do business for entrepreneurs. I asked him about the One District, One Product scheme, something which critics say other states must learn from. I also asked him about why he's so bullish about the rural economy of Uttar Pradesh, his views on digital and digitization, and his advice for small businesses. All of that in this conversation. Take a listen. Thank you so very much for taking the time to speak with us exclusively on this very special series that we're doing here on Times Network, Mr. Singh. Talking really about the state of Uttar Pradesh and what makes it a great place to do business for India's small businesses and your advice really for them. I want to kickstart by really quoting some figures. It's very well known that Uttar Pradesh accounts for about 14% of the total MSMEs in the country. My question really is to kick off today's conversation and interview. If you could give us a mid to short term perspective about what perhaps the state government is doing when it comes to increasing the contribution of the small businesses based in the state to the overall.
Well, I think the way we looked at from 2017, when our Chief Minister formed the government and he held the first meeting with the economic group of ministers.
Sure.
And during that meeting, he did mention and he said that, look, UP being 24 crore people, traditionally, and we do remain an agricultural economy, agro-based economy.
Yeah.
Now, we do have some of the best craftsmen and artisans in Uttar Pradesh. We need to kickstart something which is rural-based, and we have to kickstart the rural economy. And for that, MSME plays an important role. I do remember I was part of that meeting, although I was not the MSME minister at that time, but I was the health minister. I was a kind of a special invitee because I don't form in the group of the economic ministries, but I was a special invitee. And that was his basic way of looking at it. And from there, then various things rolled out. And in that, many small, like ODOP, I'm sure we'll be dwelling on it a little later. But ODOP was one of the flagship programs, and that really catered to the each district, but more to the traditional product range of Uttar Pradesh, which can throw, the industry, or which can bring in industry into the rural industry, into the mainstream of Uttar Pradesh GDP growth. And that has actually contributed to Uttar Pradesh now standing almost to the second position. We are jumping between second and third now as state GDP. And it has added more SMEs in the state. In last 4.5 years, we added about 75 to 80 lakh more SMEs. And there has been a great contribution to the purchasing power going up. So all those things, economic activities have come through the SMEs being added in Uttar Pradesh with a more ease of doing business. Like we are now number 2 in the country in ease of doing business. We have jumped 12 ranks. Yeah. So all those things contributed to an environment where people realize, yes, it is possible to do small and medium-sized business and become entrepreneurs.
That's fascinating, Sir. I want to drill a little more into the ODOP scheme and program for the benefit of our viewers. I understand that it essentially envisages backward and forward integration, really strengthening of that research, incubation center, skilling, etc. What would you like to tell our viewers about how the ODOP scheme has been really harnessed for the sake of the small business in the state, and what really the ODOP scheme is, and why you have decided that this was the best way in which to ensure that business could be done by small businesses and really strengthening the supply chain?
A lot of thoughts is gone. Yes. And we looked at our policies and actually converged many of our policies together to bring a fine result. Sure. Under the ODOP, which is the one district, one product.
Yeah.
Now the idea was the brainchild of our Chief Minister, as I said earlier also. Yeah. And we picked up in each district, for example, the carpet industry, well known. Carpet industry from Bhadoi and Mirzapur was always well known. Now, you needed to promote that because that added to the export market also. And for doing that, you needed to bring in certain technologies and facilitation to them, and particularly bringing in, export facilities there.
Sure.
Now, technology is, well, the bunkers also, they do need, a better machine, but because it's all hand spun. Now, in order to do that, can we add that to the solar, give them solar also? So it makes it easier rather than pedaling all the time. And then looking at that, can we create a better export hub, which we worked hard. The Varanasi airport became an export hub in that. So in that context, then I'll give you a very two classic examples. One is Siddharth Nagar. So, well, it wasn't created under my name, but it was Gautam Buddha. So Siddharth Nagar there, which is next to Gorakhpur. Now, because of the soil conditions there, during the Gautam Buddha era, rice was produced there. And when it said that when Gautam Buddha was leaving that place, so people were crying, and he said, look, if the smell in this rice is there, remember I'm around. So it started to be called the Buddha Chawal. Okay. Now, which traditionally got named into a Kala Namak Chawal. Okay. Now, Kala Namak Chawal is something which has a huge export market, which is basically a sticky rice if you go and have Chinese, in a Chinese restaurant. So it was being sold at 50 rupees, 60 rupees a kilo, and not much of a demand was there. So we started under ODOP scheme, we started promoting it. Sure. We started giving them subsidy to grow, the farmers to grow. And today, despite COVID, we arranged from Japan and Singapore a delegation. Okay. Now that same rice has been exported at 600 rupees a kilo. So that helped the farmers, and now everybody wants to grow. So that growth is already taking place.
Sure.
People have moved on to other districts also. So similarly, we have something in Muradabad. Now, Muradabad is always known for the brass industry. Now, there also that the brass industry was collapsing because of the competition coming through China. Now, I held a meeting with them and I asked them what really is bothering you. So they said, well, we can't compete with China on two fronts. I said, tell me. They said, one, they don't actually carve out on brass, actual brass. They use HR coil and then they plate it, which looks like a brass. I said, second, they said they use a kind of a computerized stamping machines where they produce the similar thing what we are producing. We produce one, they produce 100. So economies of scale come to them. So I said, well, from where do they get this machine? They said they import, that's a German machine. I said, well, okay, under a scheme of ODOP, your product is there. You two people should apply forming us SPV, special purpose vehicle. And under SPV, we will give you a grant, not a loan. So 14 crore each. We gave them 28 crores to put up this SPV in Muradabad, which is now already almost set up. Now our people, our artisans will use the HR coil and then compete with China. So we will do exactly what they were copying us. We'll master before them, and we will do, because it's our design which they were copying, but in a different format. So what I'm trying to say is there are many other examples of, for example, in Sambal, there's a lot of crushing of animal bones which happened there. Now, all those, as the raw material was going to China to make those buttons, we wear a lot of fancy buttons also, which gets imported back into India. So we said, no, why you are exporting this raw material? So they said, if we get this machine which the China is using, we'll be able to manufacture. So we looked at various markets. So a machine was brought in from Korea, or I think Taiwan, and that machine is being given under our ODOP scheme. So that's a grant again. And now those bone crushers will be using that as a SPV there. They are members of that, and they will pay and they'll run it on a sustainable model. So this is the kind of model which we have adopted in our, not only ODOP, there are other schemes also, like Vishkarma Shram Samman Yojana and all that. So we have actually gone down to the, I would say, the last craftsman, you can say, including the barber, or even those who are plumbing, we actually have skilled them. Time is there, time has come that we really need a better skill in each area, so as to service a better and create a better industry and a market. More professional we need to bring them. So this is how we are going about, and hopefully it is showing results.
Let's look into a short break. On that note, I will come back with much more on this very special series, The State View Uttar Pradesh, talking about what makes Uttar Pradesh a great place to do business and some of the inclusive policies being announced by the state government. Back in just a moment. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. With us here on ET Now, Leaders of Tomorrow presents The State View Uttar Pradesh. This is an exclusive conversation with the Minister of MSME in Uttar Pradesh, Siddharth Nath Singh. You said exports when you started the ODOP answer, and I just want to circle back to that. It's a two-part question. First, if you could talk about the impact that small businesses in the state of Uttar Pradesh have seen because of COVID, and what perhaps has been some of the hand-holding that the state government has done for these businesses that have been impacted.
I think we have focused on two things, which I would like to, under the creating SMEs more and promoting SMEs.
Sure.
Is we have actually went ahead on skilling side. You cannot have a better SMEs, a competitive SMEs with a better quality if you do not create a good skill, a technical skill side to it. Every industry requires, be it big, small, medium. That's how we think about it, including micro, I would say. If we have gone down in our schemes to the cottage industry to even make a achar, or a bakery unit in a village, or a Maggie unit in a village. So we have actually gone by skilling them. Okay. Second is we have focused on packaging and branding them. If you do not create a brand, it's very impossible to sell. So today, any of our product which gets a brand which is ODOP, people do feel it will be a good brand. It is quality. Okay. Because we have tied up with the Quality Control of India. Not only that, most of our products now are GI certified, which is very, very important. So I think put together, well, I can just keep speaking on what all we have done. So that will take not 15 minutes, it will take at least 2 to 3 hours you have to give to me.
यानी देश की आबादी का सबसे बड़ा भाग उत्तर प्रदेश में निवास करता है, तो उत्तर प्रदेश ने भी तय किया है कि देश की $5 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी बनाने की प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी की उस संकल्प के साथ हम भी जुड़ेंगे और उत्तर प्रदेश की इकोनॉमी को $1 ट्रिलियन तक पहुंचाने की दिशा में एक नया प्रयास प्रारंभ हुआ है। आप देखना अगले 5 वर्षों के दौरान बहुत सकारात्मक परिणाम उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर आएंगे और हमें इस क्षेत्र में सफलता प्राप्त होगी। मुझे ये बताते हुए प्रसन्नता है कि विगत 4 वर्ष के दौरान हमने जहां एक कॉमन मैन से जुड़ी भी, चाहे वह गांव का हो, किसान का है, नौजवान, महिलाओं का, हर एक तबके के लिए शासन की योजनाओं को पहुंचाया है, बिना भेदभाव के पहुंचाया है। हर व्यक्ति आज उन योजनाओं से लाभान्वित होता है।
So I have my last few questions. The second part of that question is, I understand that you chair the exports as well as investments as far as the state of Uttar Pradesh is concerned. Even as you've been laying great emphasis on the rural economy of Uttar Pradesh, could you talk to us about what perhaps the state government has been doing when it comes to strengthening exports of small businesses from the state?
Well, I won't say just the small businesses. We have focused on the heavy industries also, and high-tech industry, particularly in the electronic side. So, but overall, we created a very holistic export policy. And I think the most important thing is we are a landlocked state.
Sure.
We are immediately thrown out of competition with those states who are nearer to a port or have a port of their own. So, be it on the western or the eastern part of India. Sure. So there is always issue regarding a freight. So our policy introduce a freight equalizer. So generally for us is the Mumbai port. So anything going from the Mumbai port or comparatively, we have used a freight equalizer policy so as to subsidize those containers. With the dedicated freight corridor coming in India, hopefully it should be ready in few years' time. So both east and west corridors will be going, almost 66% of that corridor passes through UP. So we'll get that benefit.
Sure.
We have created for smaller items which are not bulky. We have looked at creating export cargo hubs. So like I mentioned, Varanasi is a new addition. We have one in Kushinagar that's near to the Gorakhpur. Now we are already in discussion for a container, a dry port, creation of more dry port areas in Uttar Pradesh, looking at towards our eastern part of Uttar Pradesh, which requires, and we are already in the process of launching our Purvanchal expressways and the Bundelkhand expressway. So it's a network of, I would say, a web of expressways which are coming up.
Sure.
And so with all that, there is an export policy which is very robust and holistic. And similarly for the heavy industries, we have a sectoral policies, which we announced in 2017 when we came in government, and we then launched 2018 Investors Summit, which was a very successful summit. Well, always the MOUs are big numbers, and in any state, the job is how much gets actually delivered on the ground. So we had two groundbreaking ceremony, both one by Prime Minister, the other by the current Home Minister, Amit Shah ji. And I'm happy to share that out of 4,28,000 lakh crores of MOUs signed, we did deliver. We have actually grounded, I would say. We have we are over 2 lakh crores projects we have already grounded. 1 lakh is in a very active consideration. Somewhere the land has been taken. It's an active process. And I feel the success of that resulted in during the COVID period, where I must have interacted on virtually only, but through these various platforms, AmCham you just mentioned just now.
Okay.
So we brought in about investment, not I would say grounded, but proposals worth about 66,000 crores during the COVID period, because they were seeing a success. And our Nivesh portal, Nivesh Mitra portal, which is the best portal considered and awarded in India for investment, a single window portal, and that added on to our creating a ease of doing business, I would particularly say. And AmCham, during that process, as I said, about 66,000 crores. One of the first meeting of AmCham that I addressed last year during the COVID, we were able to get a very major investment by PepsiCo of 850 crores coming in near Mathura for their making of whatever the chips they get, the potato chips they have. And during that period, again, we got the Microsoft to come and look at our Greater Noida, Gautam Buddha Nagar, and they have actually bought land now for opening their North India campus. So there have been a lot of success, particularly because things were being delivered in Uttar Pradesh.
That's all we could put into part 1 of this episode. Much more coming up in the rest of this series. Do stay tuned for that. For tonight's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.